Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for attending this workshop. As you may know, the Fulbright Foreign Student Program is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State and funded by the U.S. Congress. Amidis administered the program in Lebanon and in several other countries in the Middle East and North Africa. More than 400,000 Fulbrighters have participated in this program since its inception 75 years ago. The Fulbright program awards approximately 8,000 grants annually. In Lebanon, it provides full funding for up to 2 years of study for a master's degree in the United States, beginning in August 2022. So far, we have about 200 Lebanese alumni who completed this program, and it's my pleasure to welcome one of them today, Dr. Pauline Aad. Dr. Pauline Aad is an animal biologist researching the molecular reproductive physiology of local sheep and goat breeds. She's also working on understanding the effect of environmental contaminants and variable factors on production and reproduction of these breeds. She received her PhD in animal breeding and reproduction and is currently an associate professor at NDU. She has more than 30 peer-reviewed publications and has won the AOAD First Prize for Outstanding Publication in Animal Improvement. She is also a founding member of Fulbright Alumni Association of Lebanon, FAL. Dr. Pauline Aad got her master's degree and her PhD from Oklahoma State University. She got her master's in animal reproduction and her PhD in animal breeding and reproduction. She also got her agricultural engineering bachelor degree from the Lebanese University. She also won several grants, and one of them is the visiting researcher in 2009 at Oklahoma State University. There are a lot more to know and to learn about Dr. Pauline Aad. Thank you, dear Dr. Pauline, for agreeing to be with us today and give us some of your time to show the others and to explain to them your experience about the program.
Thank you, Hala. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Of course, to Amidis and the States Department, not only for providing me the opportunity to speak to you now, but actually for setting my path onto what I do today. So they really had a great positive impact on my career, and I'll try to attest to what how they've provided me the tools and the potential to actually be here today. So I know today we're supposed to speak more about our Fulbright experience and what we gained, if you want, from this experience. So let me first start by telling you a few things about my program. So first off, I did not go on the regular student visiting program like you guys will. I actually went on a short-term student research visiting program for only 10 months. So your program, I think, is 2 years, or the program you're applying for is 2 years. So I wasn't on a degree program. Basically, I went for a non-degree program for just 10 months. But as a result of my Fulbright program or Fulbright scholarship, I actually was able to stay in the US to finish my master's and my PhD based on, of course, the fact that I proved my potential to the people who actually later provided me with financial assistance, with admissions, all that kind of stuff. So Fulbright is a program that opens up a lot of doors for you if you want. This is how I will sum it up. It will actually, if you do get Fulbright, they do tell us in the US or in Lebanon that you're one of the brightest, so the creme de la creme, I guess. I don't feel that way, but still. And as a result, really, if you get to being a finalist, just be very proud of that. And then this is what I kind of felt. Now, I was placed in Oklahoma. How many of you know anything about Oklahoma? and I'm saying it the way they say it, Oklahoma, basically eating half of the words there. So Oklahoma is cowboy country. Anywhere you drive, you see cows and cattle and green spaces everywhere. Now, I'm an animal science. This was like the perfect opportunity for me. So Fulbright will place you at the best possible place, even though you don't know. Now, for me, I had worked during my research, my agriculture engineering degree. I had already researched university, used their tools, etc. But really, my placement at Oklahoma State was one of the best possible opportunities because Oklahoma State is number 4 in animal science in the US. So they do, because of Fulbright and the name of Fulbright, you do have the potential to be placed at some of the best schools around the country for the field that you're applying for. And whether you know it or not, when you pick the schools that you're applying for, you might not get them. I was lucky that my choices were, I guess, reasonable enough that I got my choice, but many of my friends didn't. So as a result, the placement you get is, believe it or not, a better placement for you than what you had picked. So don't double think the choices. Now, I asked you if you knew Oklahoma. Now, if you can imagine the United States map, and you know where Texas is, because almost everyone knows Texas, it's right above Texas. Cowboy country, really pure and simple. So I got to Oklahoma and we had to drive for like 2 hours to get to the university in the middle of nowhere. Most of the universities in the US, unless you go to, I don't know, DC or George Washington University or some other big place, most of the universities in the US are in the middle of nowhere. You have to be ready for that somehow. But yet I met some of the nicest people, the brightest people, and the most helpful people I could have ever met. And they became friends, and they still are today, because they, again, allowed me an excellent experience, even in a place that I would have never dreamt still existed in the US. I walked into a class one time, and I had close to 50 cowboy hats in the room with, boots, buckles, those big buckles. And I learned later that these are won and not just worn. You don't just go to a store and buy and buy your buckle. You actually win the buckle because of either bull riding or roping or chasing after cows and stuff like that. So really, it's a totally different culture, and it's an amazing experience at that. Now, this is socially, right? But Fulbright is a lot more than you just getting a new experience. Fulbright is about, well, they provided me with tools. First off, they prepared us before we left so that we do not get into the culture shock that I was, sort of getting myself into by going to a place that, I'm a city girl. I lived in Beirut, and I go to this place that looks a lot more like my village in the Bekaa, where I've never lived a day in my life, right? Now I have to be able to cope, I guess. But still, they trained us before we went. They had people lined up for us on campus in DC from Amadis, DC. And even whenever we communicate with Hala, she was very responsive. Basically, they provided us with all the tools to be able to be at ease, mindedly, at ease academically, because the stipend that Fulbright gives you actually will allow you to live, not rich, but comfortable. So this is why when I selected Oklahoma, I also was lucky, because Oklahoma is not a very expensive state, neither in rent nor in food, but at the same time, it was a comfortable place where I could accomplish my academic aspirations, if you want. So that also was very important. Because if you have to work and you have to study and you have to do all that, you might not be at ease. Fulbright provides you enough financial stability, if you want, during your program, that you don't have to worry about all these problems. So that was very, very, very positive for me. They provided me, and I don't know whether they still give that or not, some book allowance. They provided me with equipment allowance. I think one time during my program, based on need. And I think I might have purchased either a research laptop or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been since 2002, so that will give you my age. And don't count. Don't calculate, please. So so this was sort of a big bonus. That, I mean, I'm from a middle class family in Lebanon. My parents are both teachers. I wasn't someone who, you know, her parents had a lot of money in the bank, who had, you know, a lot of potential extra money to help me when I was there. So, but still Fulbright, you know, provided me enough assurance, and it was plenty for me to actually be able to visit a few states, travel on a conference, because also Fulbright provided that, be able to interact professionally, but also socially. And so that was great. So that by itself was, you know, sort of, you have the social security and the support system, you have the financial support, but you also had excellent peers and people on campus to allow you for professional support too. So it's a holistic program, in my opinion, to allow you to succeed in whatever you decide to do. Now, why did I choose the field I chose? Because this was a field I was passionate about. So when you're applying, think about something passionate to do. Don't just think about, yeah, I was in this and I'm going to succeed in this and I want to change my field just because I can. Do something you like, but at the same time, there is a continuation of what you're doing. Otherwise, your chances are not going to be that good. So this is why I went into animal reproduction. I actually, even after I finished my master's and my PhD, and I came back to Lebanon, because again, I always, it was my intention. Yes, I did my master's and my PhD there, but never did I care that after I finished, I had to come back and do my 2-year home residency in Lebanon. I wanted to. I mean, it was actually an assurance for my parents that I'm coming back. So they were okay with me leaving. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I came back to Lebanon, and just having that Fulbright on my CV, just having that name, even when I was in the US, and having the folder that they give us for Fulbright, many people on campus will turn and look at me and they go like, oh, you're a Fulbright scholar. And, you know, so this by itself was a door opening for me. It allowed interaction with more people that I didn't know. At the same time, when I was at Oklahoma State, because I was there originally for just 10 months, I wanted to try to gain as much experience as possible. I got involved in all the student clubs that were relevant. I got involved with all my fellow graduate students in the programs. I got involved with every single research program I could find, just so that, because I know I'm there for a limited time, I wanted to gain as much experience, get myself placed, get more skills on my CV so that I could succeed later. And this is something that Fulbright will allow you to do, because again, you have the luxury of time to do all this stuff. If you go on your own to do a master's, you're going to have to work. I mean, that's what I did afterwards. I had to teach on campus, work for 40 hours and study at the same time. And that's not easy. So we had to sort of split our time afterwards between teaching, research, and doing our own studies. And this makes things a bit more complicated and more challenging. But Fulbright allowed me to actually get involved more in research, get involved more in social activities, in exchange activities that otherwise wouldn't have been possible if I was on my own. So I guess because of Fulbright, I was able to get a lot more exposure, I guess, when I was in the US. And at the same time, I got more exposure when I came back, because with many Fulbright students, after I finished my program, I came back to Lebanon and they were always eager to reach out. They were always eager to, sort of at least meet and sit and have like-minded people that you could talk to. I mean, you just came back from being away for 2 or 4 or 6 years and you feel disconnected, you feel you've lost all your friends that you had here, and yet there is this pool of Fulbright alumni who are there ready to support you, ready to connect with you, and that was really the beginning of a beautiful thing. I was a founding member with FAL. I'm still with them today, and we still try to provide this I guess network of support for those students so that are coming back. So again, support system there, support system here, really it was beautiful. Now professionally, because of the placement at Oklahoma State, one of the best universities, I had an advisor that actually was, well, first, he was super open to having students from all over the place. So he had students from the Philippines, students from, what was the name of that? From Africa, but Lesotho in Africa. He had students from the US, he had students from Mexico. So you can imagine on a day-to-day, you're bumping shoulders with these people. At the same time, Oklahoma State had more than 23 different countries represented, and you were bumping shoulders with all of those. Plus, you had people coming in from all over the US. So you get to see the real cowboyish people and the real city girls from California, or kids from California who are coming in to study at Oklahoma. So you really had this melting pot of beautiful, beautiful cultures that you could interact with. And that's really something that you don't see regularly on campuses in Lebanon. And that really was very, very, very nice opportunity for me. So being placed at one of the best institutions with one of the most open advisors, but at the same time, one of the best researchers I've ever interacted with. He is still my mentor today. I still work with him today. And so that provided me the opportunity to prepare myself for a very, very, very promising future. Now, when I applied for Fulbright, one of my goals coming back was to be involved in research in agriculture, which I knew was a field that needed improvement. And this was one of my goals. And one of the committee members on my selection had a very challenging question for me on that committee when I came back, because he was like, where are you going to do research in Lebanon? And when I came back to Lebanon, NDU, this same person was the vice president for academic affairs. And I reminded him of that question. And I told him, I'm here today and you're asking me to do research in Lebanon. So there you go. Lebanon is growing in terms of research, in terms of potential. And I'm very glad that I was able to gain the experience from the US because of Fulbright in order to be able to apply those here in Lebanon. So professionally, again, it was a very, very nice experience. After my 10 months, and again, I told you it was a very short program. Even with 10 months, I was able to attend 2 conferences. I was able to publish 2 papers, so 2 abstracts, 2 papers. And actually, even with just that, I would have been able to come back and set my career path on. But staying on as a master's and a PhD, I really graduated with like 6 papers and came to Lebanon, and I really had my pick among institutions here. I mean, as soon as they saw that Fulbright line on your CV, automatically your name bumped probably, if not to the top of the list, to probably among the best on that candidate lists. Now, so I was really a well-rounded experience where I could, have a good setup for the future. But one thing that I really cherish about my Fulbright experience is the ability to be able to actually connect with people like you and talk about my experience with. Because I do it now, but in the US, I was able to do it with people from the US who actually had no idea what Lebanon was. I was invited to give talks on classes about animal agricultures of Lebanon. I was invited to speak about food of Lebanon, which is something that I probably didn't know much about. And that by itself, to me, was very rewarding because I spoke at schools about Lebanon, which I love Lebanon, obviously, I'm still here. I was able to speak to university students from agriculture major, from other different majors. And I even was invited in my first year to give a talk to the department about animal science in Lebanon and the challenges. And that by itself made me think about what is it that I want to do when I come back. So the interactions you have in the US, really out of nowhere, and you don't really anticipate those, by themselves provide you an opportunity to grow, either personally or professionally, and really decide what you want to do when you come back. And that by itself is very important. Again, I was able to experience a rodeo. I was able to go to a horse racing track. I betted on horse tracks. I went to casinos in Oklahoma. I danced with the Cherokee tribes. The Cherokee, because Oklahoma is a native, one of those states that still have a lot of Native Americans. So basically, they do a festival on campus that invites all the different tribes from Native American background, and they do a whole big festival that I don't think I would have been able to see in New York or in California or anywhere else. So that by itself, Oklahoma is now my second home. For me, it has such a beautiful place in my heart that I really call home. And so even though when I describe Oklahoma, my aunt came to visit from California, and she called my dad and told him, hey, why are you worried about your daughter? That was about 3 years of me being there. She is in Ka right now. Ka is my village. And I go like, oops, that really looks remote. That really looks agriculture. That really looks like in the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah, I just went to my village. So that by itself tells you that, we should have more of these experiences in Lebanon. And this is why when I came back, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go and work in the Bekaa. I'm going to work with farmers. I'm going to work with people that really need my expertise, or at least the expertise I gained in the US. And I want to give back to Lebanon. And this by itself provided me with, a good opportunity, if you want. So, this is, if you want to know more about it, of course, I told you about the good things. I can tell you about the bad things. How many of you have paid for their own phone bill or their own electricity bill? So one story before I went to the US, I had already researched the apartments and found a close enough apartment that I found was nice. It had the pool. So I was like, yeah, I want to go swim when I wanted to. So in the compound, there was a pool. I was like, yeah, this is a good place. I'm going to live there. So I go there, and they had, the rent agreement and all that, and they go over the rent agreement with you. So one of the items they ask you is, do you want us to pay for your electricity, or do you want to pay for it yourself? And they had, if I remember right, like $180 or $200 for electricity. I was like, my God, this is too much. I'm not going to pay this much for electricity alone. I'm not going to be at home all day. I'll turn off my lights. My bill is going to basically barely be $50. So I told them I'll pay for it. Okay. Now, a few Lebanese students had met me that day, taking me to get the apartment, took me to Walmart to get my groceries. I got back home. I put all those groceries, meat and vegetables and all that in the fridge and the freezer. My fridge was packed. And then I went to sleep. I woke up at midnight, no electricity at the house. I was like, oh my God, what happened? So I tried to call the landlord. The landlord didn't answer this late. So I waited until 7 a.m. I went down to him. I was like, my fridge is off. I need electricity. What's going on? I'm not in Lebanon anymore, right? And he goes like, yeah, but you opted to pay for your own electricity. So we cut the electricity off. And I go like, oh, right? What do I do now? This is my first week in the US. I have no electricity. My fridge is full. Food is going to spoil. I just paid tons of money for it. I'm like, right? So he's like, yeah, you can go to the electrical company. He gave me the address. And then I had a map. So I was walking down the street with this map. I don't even have a taxi, right? I mean, I didn't have a phone yet. I was like, okay, what do I do now? And then I'm walking down the street with the map, and this really nice cowboy with big mustaches, a big cowboy hat, you know, tight jeans, and walking down is like, can I help you, ma'am? I was like, what are you trying to say to me? It's like, can I help you, ma'am? And I go like, I look at him, I was like, I really have this face of freaking, you know, person. And he goes like, can I help you do something, ma'am? And I go like, yeah, I'm trying to find the electrical, you know, the electricity company. I need to get my electricity back on. And there's a paying phone right across the street. He's like, come with me, come with me. He took me in. There was a big construction going on facing my apartment. He went into the office, called me a cab, told them, you know, you don't let her go before she finds a cab, before she gets there. He gave instruction to the cab driver, you don't leave her, you bring her back here. After she's done, you wait for her as long as she needs to, and she will get her electricity on. I was like, oh my God, this guy's so nice. And that was the first and last time I actually saw him. And that was it. He helped me get my electricity settled. And that's why I told you I met the kindest, nicest people in Oklahoma. Because if you're walking down the street, everyone will be walking. Morning, ma'am. Morning, ma'am. I mean, everyone says morning to everyone. Everyone smiles to everyone. Even in Lebanon, this doesn't happen, let me tell you. And so it started on a bad note that turned out to be a good note. So expect these, you know, sort of pitfalls, if you want, in your journey. But at the same time, you have a support system. You can't go to the supermarket. The university might provide you a ride. A friend might give you a ride, etc. So really, the networks that I had around me, I guess I was one of the lucky ones, because I think I remember when we came back from the program, we came to visit Hala, and we were a bunch of students there, and we were telling our experiences. And I think I was one of the very few that had very few bad experiences during my stay, because if I remember, Mac for a while didn't have any heating in his apartment, and he was in Nebraska with minus 20 degrees outside. I think I can't remember, what was it? I mean, many people had so many different I guess bad experiences, that because of that, I think, Hala, you decided to start to give a full master's where students would have more of a safety net, I guess. But yeah, I mean, still with all the some bad experiences, it still was an amazing experience. I think I'll take a break here in case you guys have any questions, and then if you want me to keep going afterwards, I'll be happy to. So can we take a few questions, comments, or whatever you guys feel like?
Yeah, you can either raise your hands and ask the questions, or put it in the chat.
Yeah, sure. Let me open the chat. I saw a few comments from you guys.
Yeah. But please don't ask questions about the application. If you
no, I will not. I only gave you that question because I know that question is no longer asked in there.
Okay, so anyone has any questions, please.
So what is it that you really want to know about the Fulbright experience? What is it that you do not know what to expect, I guess? Do you know what you're expecting when you're applying now? And again, that's a question for you. This is what I tell my students. I'll wait for an answer.
You're too shy.
It's okay. You don't have to put your camera on. You're strangers to me. So any question is a good question. That's what all teachers say. There's no bad questions, no bad comments. Go ahead. I can call you by names. Actually, no, because it is a full new experience. Okay, so you don't know what to anticipate. Have you ever done your own laundry? How many of you know how to do their own laundry?
I do.
Yeah, good for you. Do you know how to do it in a laundromat where you actually have to go take your laundry with you, go to the laundromat, put them in a machine, wait for them, you know, just like the movies, and then take them out. No line to put them on. You have to put them in the dryer. Do you know how hot you have to put your clothes into the dryer? Otherwise, you'd have shrinking clothes that look a lot smaller than you are.
Actually, no.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, half your clothes will go out the window. Some of them will actually change colors because of the heating in there until you figure out the settings or you ask someone for the settings, basically. How about paying for the photocopying at the library because you don't have any photocopy places? And if you want to copy something, you're going to have to, you know, find a way to purchase a library card.
Me as a Lebanese university student, I'm kind of used to like going to the library and wait and have to pay like twice and almost 3 times, like because doctors from day to night, they change a single word in the PDF and you have to print it all over again. And
let's see, that's going to be the same exact experience, except that you're going to have to learn to go paperless because printing is very expensive in the US. So you're going to have to rely more on paperless experience.
And what are you working specifically here in Lebanon?
Oh, okay. So I'm an associate professor at Notre Dame University. I teach in the Department of Sciences, Faculty of Natural and Applied Sciences. Even though nowhere in my title says animal production or animal science, actually all my research is still on animal production and reproduction. I teach a variety of courses because my PhD was in molecular reproductive physiology. So basically real-time PCR, microarray, cell culture, hormone effect, all this is more biology than animal science. So I do have the basic sciences that I teach, but I also teach some applied. For example, this semester I'm teaching human reproduction, which is actually right down my alley. At the same time, it's a course that has a bit more challenges than animal reproduction because you have to talk about a lot of, I should say, taboo subjects. But still, I mean, it's teaching science. I teach environmental science as well. So a variety of courses. I mean, when you get a PhD, you actually do get more training than just your title. And at the same time, that allows you to be a bit more diverse. But at the same time, I'm specialized in sheep and goat. And actually, just about a few months ago, I applied for grants. I received grants. So one, I was just telling Hala, so I recently, in the past 2 years, I guess, well, year and a half, during the pandemic, everyone had a bad pandemic. Mine was great because I received funding to do research from the peer partnership for, I think, enhanced education and research and US aid for $155,000 US to do research over 2 years. I mean, today, this amount by itself is like, whoa, but it wasn't as much when I applied. So I guess this is good. To do research specifically on sheep and goat. But also I received the AOAD award. This was actually for one of my publications. And this is from the Arab League, يعني جامعة الدول العربية. This was the award that they give to researchers who are working on improvement of sheep and goat. And I won the best paper with a collaboration with Jordan. So I actually work with researchers from all over Lebanon, different universities, USG, Lebanese universities, UZEC. I also work with the Jordanian University of Science and Technology. Recently, I started collaborating with USDA in the US. I work with too many people. I mean, I'm also part of the Cyprus, the initiative by the Cyprus Institute of Research that actually started a initiative on climate change. They're studying climate change and impact of climate change on agriculture in the Mediterranean region. So East Mediterranean and East Mediterranean and South Africa and North Africa, I guess, impact on on climate change and how this is anticipated to change our approaches to managing animals, but also to what should we be testing, what should be looking for. So again, a diversity of things because of the skill set that I've developed. So it's not like you get one skill set and you're stuck there. Most recently, for example, I'm a real-time PCR specialist. So guess what? COVID testing is real-time PCR, and people are asking my help diagnosing and trying to interpret results on real-time testing. And now I've been consulting for a month on COVID testing. So again, I mean, I have nothing to do with human yet. At the same time, I'm doing consultancy on this topic. So depending on your skill set and how much you get out of your experience when you are in the US, my advice is build your CV, build your skill set to have an edge above and beyond everyone else. I mean, just having one, and hopefully when you win the Fulbright student program, guess what? You already have an edge for you to be admitted. So develop that edge, develop that skill set so that not only can you come back and be successful in Lebanon, but also you can be flexible and you can find a way to always adapt what you've learned in the US and Lebanon. Because we used techniques that would cost like $2,000 to $3,000 a sample to analyze. There's no way we could do the same research here. So I used to work with large animals in the US. I started working with sheep and goat in Lebanon. So again, you have to be you have to adapt, right? You have to be able to find a path in Lebanon or in the US. Now, I have a straight path as a Batkun of academia. Not everyone does. I know a lot of my friends who work with NGOs who have changed their path 2 or 3 times. And you could do that. Fulbright and the experience you gain, the personality you develop when you're in the US will allow you to do that. And living on your own, guys, that by itself will provide you growth and will provide you potential to become resilient. And to me, that was one of the important skill sets I got in the US, because I never lived on my own a day. Yes, I did live on a farm during my research, but my parents were visiting once or twice a week, bringing me food, bringing me tons of stuff. But to be independent financially, to be independent intellectually, and to, at the same time, develop your own personality with interactions, that by itself is extremely important experience for me. And I think it will be for you as well.
Interesting.
Other expectations?
This leads me to my next question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that there will be like kind of sort of a future for us, like after we get our master's degree and our PhD, if we want to continue in Lebanon in the field of research, and after what is happening here in Lebanon, economic crisis and everything?
Here's the thing, I'm still in Lebanon. I don't have any plans of leaving anytime soon. About 3 years ago, I was at the crossroad, and the crossroad was either I get some funding to be able to really do the research I want in Lebanon, or if I cannot accomplish that, I'm going to actually choose to leave, because my career was at stake at that point. I decided I didn't come back to Lebanon to just leave. So I decided I'm going to use all the skill sets I have. I'm going to try to build more connections in order to get money. And this grant I just got was the result of 2 years of work. I started in February of 2018. I just got the funding in December 2020. So that by itself was a long stretch. But when you put your minds to things, you can get them done. I can assure you that in Lebanon, there is so much opportunity for research. There are so many fields that are neglected, depending on which field you are in. I am sure if you put your minds to it, you will find a way. Of course, not everyone might be fit to be able to succeed in academia or anywhere else. But again, you have to try. And if you don't try and try again, then I don't know, maybe you're not going to succeed anywhere. If you don't succeed in Lebanon, I don't think you will succeed anywhere. At least this is my personal opinion. I don't know. Maybe I would have succeeded more outside. Maybe I would have been able to do things easily, but I'm not there. I feel in Lebanon, I make a lot more difference than I would anywhere around the world, just by the fact that I can say now that at least 5 or 6 of my students have been able to be placed in the US or across Europe. Now these students have been able to finish their PhDs or become inspectors on farm companies or be able to actually become successful researchers. That by itself to me is reward enough. That I don't think I would have had much to do in the career of students in the US, because everyone does that. And I don't think people in the US need that much support, if you want. Students in Lebanon need it a lot more. I didn't have any when I applied. I didn't have any when I was trying to do my master's and PhD. I got a lot of support from Fulbright and Amadeus, and that's why I was able to accomplish what I wanted. And this is why today, I really feel I was lucky for not only the Fulbright experience, but like today, again, getting the US Department of State support again with this USAID peer grant. So again, you're building a path for yourself. Depending on how you build your path, you will build a path to succeed, or you will build a path that would say, well, I will never survive here, I want to go. And that's a personal choice. To me, I've always had the choice to come back. And as long as I can survive, pay for my mortgage and eat, I'm staying in here. At least I feel I make a difference in research. So why not? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And again, the example I gave you of someone asking me, you said in your letter you want to do research. Where can you do research in Lebanon? And me coming back to that same institution and actually proving to them that research is possible in Lebanon. I mean, if you look at my profile on Google Scholar, I'm the most cited in my institution, and I'm in a field that in animal science, not too many researchers actually read your research. I think the most cited is now in computer science. I used to be the first for a long time. Now I think I'm like third on that list. And that by itself in my field, in my very restricted field, and I work on animals in Lebanon and the Middle East, that by itself to me is reward enough.
And that's one of the purpose of the Fulbright program is like,
of course, it sets you so much. It gives you so much potential.
They want you to come back to
of course,
implement whatever you've learned in the US.
And again, guys, this drive and willingness to come back will show everywhere. No matter how you speak, it will show whether you're truthful or not. If you're not truthful, my advice is don't apply. You're not going to get a chance. I know that. So if you're not planning, and guess what? Most of the people who actually were with me in the program came back to Lebanon, ended up going back, finishing their masters and PhDs because they didn't have an opportunity like me to continue. But most of us really came back. Now, some of them ended up leaving, but every time I speak to them, they wish they were here. So, I mean, again, it's a personal choice. Of course, when you really become successful and you really see that with all the crap that is going on around here, and you see that an easier way out, you might want to take that. That's not something I want to do, at least so far. Maybe in a few years, I might change my mind if things get worse or if I cannot survive. I mean, ultimately survival is key, but so far, thank God. كتر خير الله مثل ما بيقول. What else can I answer for you guys? What else are you interested in learning about my Fulbright experience?
I think you covered all the topics, whether personal or social or
I hope so.
Your career.
Well, I can tell you one more story. When I was a Fulbright scholar, the Lebanese Student Association on campus won the first prize. We were only 4 members, 4 Lebanese students. We won the first prize for the most engaging association on campus. And that prize was because we had one of the, we put together a show that was called Cultural Night. And we were able to have close to 10 different nationalities on stage dancing dabke with us. 10 different nationalities doing dabke. And the belly dancer in there was American. So just to let you know the amount of experiences you could have. So that by itself is you know, you get proud, you become proud of being Lebanese. You are proud of actually being able to bring so many people together. And at the same time, they don't just look at you and say, oh, you don't have any camels in Lebanon? Really? I was like, yeah, we have 2 maybe. One in Baalbek and one in Musa Castle, but that's about it. They're just for tourists because we don't really need them. So, yeah. I know it feels bad right now and it feels discouraging to be in Lebanon, but believe me, we have so much potential here that, in my opinion, we can do such a great difference, either with students or with each other's lives. So we have to become solidar. So we have to be, well, I guess we need solidarity with each other.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's about it. So.
Dr. Pauline, I would like to thank you so much for sharing with us your very impressive career
thank you.
and experience so far.
I try.
And we're really proud of you, Pauline.
Thank you.
I just want to tell the others, I mean, all the attendees now, that if you are interested in hearing more stories about alumni, please register for the meet and greet session. So Mariam is going to put the link now in the chat. Register from now, and you will be hearing a lot more from many other alumni, Lebanese alumni in different fields of studies. So thank you all. If you have any questions, please join us on the Tuesday session at 3. I sent you already the link. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Pauline.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Ktir.
All right, we'll see you guys. Nice talking to you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Doctor. Bye. Allah Maki.
Thank you.